I never thought I'd be the guy to get blindsided like this, honestly. My name's Mike, and I've been with Lisa for about 6 years now. We got married, settled into a pretty normal life. Good job, nice apartment, friends, the usual. I always thought we had a pretty solid relationship. Sure, we had our disagreements like every couple, but nothing that felt like a big deal. Until recently. At first, I just noticed little things. Lisa started staying late at work more often, claiming she had extra projects or meetings. I figured it was just work stress, but then she started coming home late without any real explanation, looking a little guilty, a little defensive. She'd brush it off when I asked, saying I was paranoid, that she was just busy. But she also started being more bitchy for no reason, snapping at me over small stuff, acting like I was a pest when I'd try to talk about plans or our weekend. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I kept my head down, hoping maybe she was just stressed or exhausted. Then, a couple of days ago, things escalated. I noticed her phone was left on the coffee table even when she was in the shower. I don't normally go through her stuff, but something about the way she'd been acting made me curious. I picked up her phone just to check if she was texting anyone weird. No big deal, right? But what I saw made my stomach drop. There was a series of messages from her boss, Alex, talking about meetings, plans for the weekend, how hot she looked in her new dress, all kinds of flirty stuff. At first, I thought maybe I was overreacting, but then I saw the hotel booking confirmation tucked behind her laptop. Apparently, they had a reservation for a weekend getaway, just the two of them. The hotel was nice, not some sketchy dump, but still. I stared at it, feeling like I'd been punched in the chest. My wife, my partner, was planning to run away with her boss for what? Sex? Escape? I don't know. I felt this mix of rage and heartbreak that I can't even describe. I wanted to scream, to call her out right then and there, but I also knew I had to keep calm. I needed to think. How long had this been going on? Was I even close to catching her? When she came home that evening, I was sitting on the couch quiet as hell, trying to process everything. She walked in, threw her purse down, and started that fake, bitchy smile she always had when she was hiding something. I just looked at her and she knew instantly I knew something. Her eyes flickered, and for a second I saw the panic behind her fake composure. She tried to brush past me, but I stopped her, asked her straight up what the hell was going on. That's when she started lying. Damn, was she good at it. She said she was just talking to Alex about a work project, that I was paranoid, that I was imagining things. That was her go-to excuse: it's just work. Or you don't trust me, but I knew better. The way she was lying, the way she was deflecting, just made everything worse. I could feel my blood boiling, but I stayed silent, waiting. I didn't want to lose my shit right then and there. I wanted to hear what she had to say, even if I knew the truth already. That moment was one of those that change everything. I realized I was being played for a fool, and I wasn't going to take it anymore. I had to decide what to do next, but one thing was clear. This wasn't just a fling or some meaningless affair. It was planned, purposeful, and I was the last to know. After I confronted her, Lisa's face twisted into one of those fake, innocent expressions she always used when she was trying to manipulate me. She looked at me with what I can only describe as a combination of annoyance and contempt, like I was the one overreacting, like I was the problem. She spun this whole story about how Alex was just a colleague, that they were working on a project together, and that I was just being paranoid. She even had the nerve to say that I was jealous, that I didn't trust her. I was furious, but I kept my voice steady. I told her I saw the hotel reservation, I saw the messages. I knew she was planning to run away with her boss. I asked her why she was doing this, what the hell was going through her mind. That's when she scoffed, rolled her eyes, and said I was overreacting. Said Alex was just a fantasized crush, that she was just having a little fun, and that I was stupid for jumping to conclusions. Honestly, listening to her lie so smoothly made me feel sick. I'd never seen her this manipulative before, and it tore me apart. The worst part was how she spun it. She told me Alex was just a good friend, that nothing sexual was going on, and that I should trust her. She even accused me of being controlling, saying she needed her space. I didn't even know what to say anymore. My head was spinning. I was angry, yes. Heartbroken, yes. but mostly just stunned that someone I loved, someone I thought I knew, could lie this convincingly to my face. I felt like I was living in a nightmare, the kind where nobody is who they pretend to be. After she left the room, I sat there for a long time, replaying everything. I started questioning everything about us, the small stuff, the big stuff, my entire relationship. How long had she been planning this? Had she ever loved me at all, or was I just a placeholder for her real life with Alex? I felt betrayed on a level I'd never experienced before. The sense of betrayal was so deep, it was like my chest was hollowing out. I realized she'd been lying to me for months. All those nights she claimed she was working late, all those times she snapped at me for asking questions, she was actually with him. The next day, I decided I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. The pain was too much, but I couldn't go on living in this fog of deception. I reached out to a friend for support, but honestly, I felt numb most of the time. I kept coming back to that hotel reservation, how she was planning to leave me maybe forever. I kept asking myself, what the hell had I done wrong? Was I not enough? Or was she just a selfish bitch who wanted something more than I could give? I didn't have an answer, only this simmering need for revenge, for some kind of justice. I knew I had to plan my next move, confront her again, cut her out of my life completely. I didn't want her to get away with this, not without consequences. The whole thing felt so surreal, like I was watching someone else's nightmare. But I knew one thing, I wasn't going to be the guy who gets cheated on, humiliated, and then just walks away. If she thought she could cheat and lie her way out of this, she was dead wrong. I'd find a way to make her pay, to make her regret ever messing with me. I just didn't know how yet. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing with all the possible angles, how to catch her, what to say, what I wanted to do. I felt this burning need to expose her, to make her see how much she'd hurt me. I started thinking about her bitchy attitude lately, how she'd get defensive over the smallest things, and now I saw it all in a new light. She was hiding something huge. I also kept going back to that hotel reservation, how close I was to finding out the truth, and it enraged me that she was so careless, like she thought she could get away with it. The next day, I decided I'd have to dig deeper. I knew her passwords, she hadn't changed anything, and I was pretty sure I could get into her email. It felt wrong, but in that moment I didn't care. All I wanted was proof. As I sat at my laptop, heart pounding, I managed to crack her email account. She never changed her password. Inside, I found more than I bargained for. There were dozens of emails, some from Alex, some from her work account, all hinting at secret meetings, plans, and the hotel bookings. It was more than I could have imagined. This was planned, deliberate. Reading those messages, I felt like my world was crumbling. She'd been lying to my face every day. That bitchy attitude, the snapping, the fake smiles, they were all part of a cover-up. She was setting the stage to leave me with her boss. What really made me sick was the way she described him, how she looked forward to their sneaky weekend, how she saw him as her escape from her boring marriage. I felt like I'd been punched again. I'd always thought we were solid, that she loved me, but the truth was she had been planning her escape for who knows how long. I also found a string of texts where she was talking about finally being free and starting fresh, like she was ready to ditch everything, my life, our life, just for Alex. It all made my stomach turn. I was angry, yes, but mostly devastated. How did I miss all of this? How did I not see that I'd been living with a woman who had no regard for me, who was willing to cheat, lie, and plan to run away? It was a level of betrayal I honestly didn't think was possible. I was sitting there just staring when I realized I had to act fast. I needed to get her to admit everything face to face, but I also knew I'd be better off calling her bluff. I had enough evidence now to confront her head on. I knew her pattern, her lying, her gaslighting, her fake tears and apologies. I'd seen it all before. But this time, I wasn't going to let her manipulate me. I was going to make her own game turn against her. I wanted her to realize that I knew everything, that I wasn't some naive fool anymore. That's when I started planning how I'd catch her in. Her lies, how I'd expose her to her boss, to everyone. I also knew this wasn't just about catching her. It was about what I wanted from this. I wasn't going to be the passive husband anymore. If she thought she could leave and get away with it, she was dead wrong. I was going to show her that I was done being played for a fool, that I was ready to fight for myself, for my dignity. But deep down, I was scared. Scared of losing everything I ever wanted, scared I'd end up alone after all this. Still, I couldn't pretend I didn't feel a rush of adrenaline, like I was finally waking up from a nightmare I'd been stuck in for too long. The confrontation I envisioned kept circling in my mind all day. I knew I couldn't just call her out without evidence, so I decided I'd have to do it face to face, in a way that would leave her no room to deny. I planned to lay everything out on the table, show her I knew about the hotel, the messages, all of it. I wanted her to see I wasn't some naive fool anymore. I also needed backup, so I called my best friend Mark, who's been through his own share of relationship hell. I told him everything, and he was furious on my behalf, said I should confront her, get her to embarrass herself, and then decide what to do. That night I was ready. When she came home, I could see she was trying to act normal, but I wasn't having it. I told her I had something to say, something that couldn't wait. She rolled her eyes, that bitchy smirk spreading across her face like she thought she had the upper hand. I looked her straight in the eyes and told her I knew everything. I pulled out my phone, showed her the emails, the hotel confirmation, the texts, and her face just dropped. She started sputtering excuses, saying it was all just a mistake, that she was sorry, that Alex was just a work friend, and that I was overreacting. I didn't buy a single word. I told her I'd seen enough to know she was planning to leave, to run away with her boss, to throw everything we had away for some temporary thrill. She kept lying, trying to turn it around, saying she never meant to hurt me, that she was just stressed, that Alex was a good guy, and that I should forgive her. That's when I snapped. I told her I didn't want to hear her lies anymore, that I was done with her bullshit, that I saw her for what she really was, a selfish, manipulative bitch who thought she could get away with cheating on her husband. The thing is, she got angry, really angry, started yelling, calling me crazy, saying I was ruining her life, that she deserved better. She even accused me of being insecure, controlling, jealous, all the classic gaslighting. But I just sat there, calm, cold, even. I told her I was done being the fool she thought I was. I told her I was going to leave that night, that I wanted her out of my house, and that I was done with her lies. And you know what? The moment I said that, she started crying, fake tears, of course. She begged me not to do anything rash, said she'd stop, promised she loved me, that she'd end it with Alex. But I knew better. I knew she was just trying to save her own ass in that moment. I wasn't buying her crocodile tears. Honestly, seeing her like that, it just reinforced what I already knew. She was a manipulative bitch who thought she could play me for a fool forever. I told her I needed space, and I told her that her lies had destroyed what little trust we had left. I told her she had one chance to come clean for real, or I was gone. She looked at me, exhausted and defeated, but I could tell she was already planning her next move in her head. That night I packed a bag, told her I'd be staying at Mark's place for a while, and left her standing there. Her fake apologetic face turned to stone. As I drove away, I felt a mix of relief and heartbreak. Relief because I finally knew the truth. Heartbreak because I had to accept that the woman I loved was capable of this level of betrayal. I kept replaying everything in my head, trying to make sense of it. How she lied, how she manipulated, how she was planning to run away with Alex like some kind of escape artist. I knew I'd never forget this, but I also knew I had to move on. I couldn't keep living in the shadow of her lies. That's when I started thinking about what I really wanted, a life without her, a clean break, and maybe, someday, a chance to heal. The following days were the hardest I've ever gone through. Every waking moment, I felt like I was walking through a fog of betrayal and heartbreak. It was like my entire world had been shattered into pieces, and I wasn't sure how to put it back together. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat properly. All I kept thinking about was her, Lisa, the woman I'd trusted, loved, and built a life with, turning out to be so different from what I believed. The worst part was knowing she'd been lying to me for months, planning her escape with Alex all along. That realization cut deeper than I could have imagined. I spent most of my time trying to process everything. I kept going over those emails, that hotel confirmation, the messages, trying to understand how it all happened, how I missed the signs. Did she ever love me? Did I mean anything to her? Or was I just a placeholder for her real life with Alex? Those questions haunted me, but I knew I'd never get a real answer. The only thing I knew was that I was done being the fool she thought I was. I made up my mind I would take control of the situation. No more lying, no more pretending I didn't know. It was time to decide what I really wanted, and honestly, it was clarity in the chaos. I reached out to a divorce lawyer in secret. The paperwork process was straightforward, but emotionally, it was a battlefield. I knew I deserved better than a woman who cheated on me with her boss and planned to run away. I wanted to get out clean, but also, I wanted to make sure she paid for the pain she caused. I started taking steps to protect myself financially, gathering evidence of her affair, and making sure I knew exactly what I was entitled to. I didn't want her to pull some legal stunt to keep me from leaving. Every day I felt more energized, more determined to put this nightmare behind me, even if part of me was still broken inside. Meanwhile, Lisa was trying to contact me constantly, texts, emails, even calls. She sent that classic "I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me" stuff, but I wasn't buying any of it. I saw right through her manipulation. She thought she could guilt-trip me back into staying, but I knew better now. If she loved me, she wouldn't have planned to run away, wouldn't have lied so convincingly. I told her I needed space, that I was processing everything, but honestly, I was already done with her. The trust was gone and I didn't see any way back. One day I met with Mark again. He told me I made the right choice, that I deserved someone who loved me for who I was, not someone who'd cheat and lie and try to run away. It hit me how much I'd been holding on to hope that she'd change, that she'd come back. But I realized I couldn't keep waiting for that. I had to be honest with myself. I wasn't the same guy I was before I found out. I'd been broken, but I was starting to piece myself back together. It was time to focus on myself, on healing, even if it felt impossible right now. Looking back, I learned a lot about trust and betrayal. I learned that sometimes the person you love the most can turn out to be someone you barely recognize. I also learned that revenge isn't about hurting her, at least not anymore. It's about reclaiming your life, standing up for yourself, and realizing your worth. I can't say I've moved on completely, but I know I will. I just hope every guy out there never ignores the little things, the signs that someone might be lying or hiding something. Because when it's all said and done, the biggest lesson is this: never let anyone make you feel like you're less than you are, especially not the person who's supposed to love you. Now, looking back, I realize how much this whole ordeal changed me. I'm not the same guy I was before I found out about Lisa and Alex. It's like I finally woke up from a long nightmare, and even though I still feel the pain of betrayal, I also feel a strange sense of relief. I learned that trust is fragile, and when it's broken, it's almost impossible to repair. But I also learned that I have to value myself more, my feelings, my boundaries, my time. No one, not even someone I loved, deserves to treat me like an afterthought or worse, like a pawn in their game. The biggest lesson I take away from all this is simple: pay attention to the signs. If someone is cheating or lying, don't ignore it just because you don't want to believe it. Sometimes the truth is ugly, but it's better to face it head-on than to live in denial. I wish I had trusted my gut earlier, but I also have to accept that I was blindsided, and that's part of the learning process. Now I'm focusing on myself, going to therapy, rediscovering who I am outside of that toxic relationship, and trying to rebuild my confidence. As for Lisa, I don't know where she is now or what she's doing. Honestly, I don't care anymore. That chapter is closed. What I do know is I won't let the pain define me. I'll move on stronger than I was before. I'll learn to trust again, but it will be on my own terms. She made her choice, and I hope someday she realizes what she lost: someone who truly loved her, who wanted to build a life together. But I also hope she's happy with her own choices, even if it's without me. To anyone out there reading this, if you're going through something similar, just remember, don't ignore the signs. Don't let yourself be a fool, and never forget your worth. You deserve honesty, respect, and love that doesn't come with lies or betrayal. It hurts now, but time heals, and eventually what's broken can be fixed, if not with others, then with yourself. I've learned that the hard way, but I'm grateful for it. Because now I know what real strength looks like. And I know I'll be okay.